Commencing Operation Orientation. Humans of Earth, prepare your audio receptors as the following episode contains information far beyond your comprehension. For your safety, it is very important you do not. Good. Now that it is out of the way, it is time to tune into the show.
Hello, and welcome to the podcast where we are currently recapping the events of Transformers IDW 2005 continuity. I'm Onyx Prime with my two co-hosts here.
Hi, I'm Computron.
Hi, I'm Kilobyte.
Moving on with today's comic discussion takes us to IDW Transformers More Than Meets the Eye Volume 7. And as always, spoilers warning, because spoilers. So if you haven't read it already, we highly recommend you go back, read the comics, then come listen to the podcast. Or do what you want. We're not your boss. Now, onwards. Both Computron and myself have read this series already, but this is Kilobyte's first time, and we are excited to hear his thoughts about the series. But before we can even do that, or even think about doing that, Computron, do you mind telling us some fun facts?
Yeah, so this is a More Than Meets the Eye, so there are always going to be way more fun facts than usual. So... There are a total of 5 comics for this issue. Issue 34 was released October 29th, 2014, and the last issue, 38, was released March 4th, 2015. Writers, my favorite, James Roberts, and the artists were Atilio Rojo, Alex Milne, with colors by Joanne Lafuente, Alex Milne, Brian Scherer, and Josh Burkham. All right, so time for some fun stuff. In issue 34, on the cover, Ultra Magnus references subsection 11, parentheses 3 of the Autobot Code, another of James Roberts' regular references to the number.
Really likes that 113 number, huh?
Yeah. In issue 35, we see the security officer who stops Minimus is designed after classic UK comic strip law enforcer Judge Dredd.
Yeah, I saw that.
I did see Judge Dredd. I did. Let's see here. Time travel creating parallel universes, or a time traveler going to a parallel universe rather than actually changing their host timeline, is a trope used in a few time travel stories. That's a tongue twister. That used to be the official rules of Marvel Comics, time travel. So when Perceptor says parallel universes are a concept that encourages a second-rate scientist to avoid the more complicated implications of time travel. To digress a moment, Perceptor must be referring to specifically to alternate timelines created through alteration of history via time travel, rather than to be different universes in general, since there are, of course, a bajillion different Transformers universes. Within the confines of the IDW continuity alone, the Dead universe was a proven alternate universe that the Transformers were dealing with very recently. All right, so issue 36. When they originally appeared, the Outliers drew a clear parallel to Marvel's X-Men, being a superpowered mutants secretly taught to use their abilities at a school. In what is surely another nod this issue, Windcharger throws Orion Pax in a manner similar to the classic X-Men maneuver, the Fastball Special. In issue 38, on the day of the issue's release, hashtag MTMTE was a trending topic on Tumblr, meaning that the comic was one of the most talked about topics on the entire platform, itself one of the top 25 internet destinations as ranked by traffic in the whole world. This is, of course, outstanding.
Perfect.
Also, last but not least, did you know by subscribing to our channel or following us on social media helps keep the Kremzeeks away?
Is that true?
For legal reasons, I have to say no.
Okay.
Oh,
so,
goodness.
Mr. Kilobyte, do you mind giving us a short summary of these comics?
Will do. Again, the More Than Meets the Eye, I tend to do a couple stories, so there'll be a couple of short summaries. So we'll start off with, in the present day, an attempt by a small group of Autobots to save the life of a wounded Transformer goes horribly wrong. While in the past, the exiled Megatron comes under mental assault from Senate agents. That's a fun ride. The Lost Lighters realized that Brainstorm has time traveled into the past in order to change history. What could his goal be? Dun dun dun. And this week's episode, we're giving a shout out to VR Matrix. Thank you so much. You are awesome. And thank you for the support of the show. And as always, this information came from the wiki.
From the wiki.
Fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
most of the fun facts come from the wiki Computron. All right, shall we get started?
We shall.
We start off on a planet. I think I'm pronouncing this wrong. Ofsted, what is that? A 17? 17. Kilo, do you mind giving us a quick rundown of what happens here? Blue Streak, Trail Crawler, Mainframe, First Aid. What exactly happens to our dear friend, Trail Cutter?
Well, they seem to be in some type of ruins, and they're talking about it was like an opera house, and they find a injured bot with surprisingly without a face. And so First Aid is trying to save this bot, and amidst the conversation between all of them, they're trying to figure out if it's a Decepticon or if it's an Autobot, if they should really help them. And so at the end, they do find the missing face plate of the bot, and we get a glance that it's Voss. Of course, they don't know this, but they end up helping the Decepticon, and in the midst of transferring Energon, Voss awakens and attacks Trailbreaker, and he manages to create a force field to keep himself away from Voss while First Aid goes and gets Blue Streak. And lo and behold, there was a hidden Decepticon underneath a rubble, and that is Kaon. And Kaon attacks Trailbreaker, killing him on the spot while his friends see the horror from outside Trailbreaker's bubble.
Yeah, and what is our reaction to this? This is very on the edge of your seat. Mind the pun with the chair, Kaon. This was like our first encounter of this version of the Lost Light running into the DJD members, and it's kind of like they have not seen this kind of horror before.
Oh man,
I like.
yes.
Sorry, I was gonna say I like right in before they went into the opera house, they were all kind of like bunched up talking about like the war and everything. And one of the things you see, and this I know this is off topic, is Mainframe reading the Decepticon Manifesto, the updated version.
The updated version with the edits at the end by Megatron, right?
That he admitted that he screwed up the end.
Yes.
But honestly, so Trail Cutter has that ability to put up a shield, right?
Correct.
Yes.
And he and being the brave bot he is, he and First Aid gave Voss their Energon, and after that he puts up his shield because he realizes Voss is not a good boy. And for a second you're like, okay, I think Trail Cutter, because he even says it's impossible to get through that barrier unless he himself dies, and you're like, oh, okay, he'll be okay. He'll be okay.
Yeah, he'll be okay.
He'll be okay.
Kilo, any last thoughts?
They caught me off guard. I'm like, why is Voss damaged? And I'm like, okay, he'll survive. And then suddenly Kaon appears, and I'm like, oh no, this is not gonna end well. And sadly,
yeah, what a shocker at the end.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pretty gruesome scene as well. It
is. So, if we didn't mention it before, warning viewers, there are probably images, too late by now, probably on the screen that show some gruesome
Might be turning in from YouTube.
Yeah, it should be fine on YouTube. It's just comics. All right, continuing on, we get some flashback scenes on Mesitine with Megatron. What are our thoughts on this? And specifically, we see him writing what would eventually become the first edition of the Decepticon Manifesto. Who's his friend? Who is this other guy named Treepan? What is his deal?
It was interesting to see that he was at one point selfless because I believe it was Terminus that he was keeping alive.
Yep.
Yes.
And Terminus was like his editor because Megatron would read out loud. Just definitely heartwarming that selfless early on.
And I really like the bot. What was his name? It was Freud? No, not Freud.
It was Treepan.
Treepan. I really like Treepan's design. I like his kind of like underwater breather.
Oh no, that one was Freud. Yep.
That one's Freud. Was it Freud?
That's
I really
Freud.
like.
Yeah, yeah.
I really like Freud's like underwater breather design. I really like. We don't see a lot of interesting designs like that often, so I really liked it.
Yeah, and it's Treepan who gets a hold of Megatron because he's starting a revolution because some of his book is getting out and people are not wanting to do jobs they don't want to do. I don't blame them. And they attempt to change his memories by deleting his thoughts, probing his mind, which kind of brings up in previous volume we see that he doesn't do well with needles. He doesn't want needles. He doesn't like them. So that's why this has come from, right?
Yeah.
That's actually a good point. I forgot about that.
I had a theory that Treepan was Aeon for some reason because he kind of has some goggles and kind of looks like Aeon a little bit with the coloring and everything. So I thought this was kind of like Aeon at the beginning, and eventually he's like, "Wait, all that Megatron is saying is true. I shouldn't be doing this. I should be helping." And so eventually we would later, I'm assuming, if it was going to be correct, we would later figure out that it is Kaon's original name before, he became the DJD.
And you would be absolutely right. But we saw Treepan die when Overlord was made.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yep, his head got a little squished.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Smush.
Yeah.
I see.
I don't think they gave him a name back then, but now we know it's Treepan. Oh, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Anyhoodle, Brainstorm then shows up in the past that we are currently in. Computron, what were your thoughts when you first read this? I know this is like your second time. And Kilo, what were your theories at this point? Why is Brainstorm showing up in the mine where Megatron is at?
I mean, I think, to be honest with you, it was probably just like what everybody else's first expression was, or first expectations were. Can I say words? It was everybody's first expectations that he was just going back in the past to kill Optimus. I was also like, scrap. I gotta give me that suitcase. I got some stuff I gotta deal with.
I thought he was gonna go take care of Megatron because at least the way they framed it at the beginning here is everybody at where Megatron is at the mines and everything started running because there was gonna be like an explosion, and so when he first appears, he seems to appear like in a cave where like you would mine energon. So I assumed he was there to take care of Megatron because we've only seen Megatron so far.
Yeah. And I think they mentioned throughout the comics that when he uses time case, I'm going to use that, time case, it emits a huge amount of radiation. And that was what caused the emergency evacuation at the mines because one of the sensors detected huge amounts of radiation, which caused the evacuation. So he is the cause of that. Fun fact.
Yes.
So, moving pastward into the past even farther back, we get some rewind. We got to go back to the past. Forward into the past, guys. We get some rewind and Dominus, eventually to become Ultra Magnus, of course. Talk about how the current functionalist society works. Kilo, do you mind giving us a rundown about how functionalists work? And what are your thoughts on this short-lived character that you are so near and dear to that looks exactly like Jetfire from the Cybertron cartoons?
Yes. So hopefully I get this right first try. But they're discussing that the functionists are... you have a designation role based on your alt mode, right? So if you are designated that you're no longer useful, or your alt mode is no longer useful, you are retired. And in terms, that means you are put
Retirement
offline.
sounds nice. Oh, wait, what?
Yeah, you're going to be put offline, so you don't get to enjoy retirement. And while Dominus and Rewind are talking about all these changes, because Dominus has been away for a long time, and this is his first time back, I think, on Cybertron in a while. He sees that there's a lot of changes, a lot of new bots like Rewind. There's a lot of in the images you'll see there's a lot of bots that have the same body type and same designs as Rewinds. So they've kind of become the standard now for like information gathering. But we also see one of the characters that does look like Judge Dredd. He explains to Dominus Ambus that they have to scan him to determine his alt mode if it's a functional alt mode. If not, then they might have to terminate on the spot, because since he's been so long away from Cybertron for so long, he doesn't have his information, up to date. And in the middle of that, we see a character from Cybertron Jetfire, which I was very excited to see. He's running away, and he trips over the guard, and he gets terminated on the spot because his alt mode has no longer a use for space travel.
Yeah, because the functionalists declared that space travel is no longer necessary, right?
Yeah, you no longer need a space travel.
Population.
So I have a question. I think it was it stated that was this in the alternate universe? I guess I was getting confused at this point. And one of the reasons why I asked that is that it sounded like Cybertron sold Luna 2.
Yes. So this, technically takes place in an alternate universe, this version of the past. Remember in the fun facts, it created, the time case created a universe each time they went back in time. So technically there's multiple parallel universes with some variations on the side, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is technically an alternative universe. Yeah, I'm sensing a theme with Kilo's favorite characters. They always end up dead within 3 pages.
Yeah, and I really like Jetfire's design for this Unicron trilogy, so I was very excited. But we also, for the listeners out there, when we show the panel, let us know in the comments how many bots you can find. Kind of let's play the Earthling game, Where's Waldo? But where's all the Cybertron trilogy characters in this panel? Because there's plenty.
Bot.
Name that bot, and I really had a blast figuring them all out.
Hey, Kilo, next time you have a favorite bot, just keep it to yourself.
Okay.
Jumping forward onto the Lost Light in the current this universe, reactions to finding out Swerve has actually been diluting his drinks, which is what saved them from Brainstorm's poisoning everyone before he time jumped. Which, wait a minute, does that mean he's diluting our drink? Are we getting ripped off?
Probably.
That kind of explains a lot, to be honest with you.
Here, you guys talk about this situation real quick. I'm gonna go have a chat with them.
Yeah, that's why they weren't as strong as bots were saying. So, I really like.
Here I am thinking that I can hold my weight.
Yeah, I'm not much of a drinker either, but I thought I could hang out with you guys. Unlike the motor fuel, what was the one Hex brought us? Death fuel. Death fuel?
I'm not touching that.
Okay, I'm back, and we're not talking about that.
Don't ask me to touch that stuff.
Yeah, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about that. I do want to say I enjoy Megatron having a complete meltdown or breakdown on how ridiculous this entire situation is. And Magnus is like, it's okay. It's practically a rite of passage at this point to have a breakdown.
Yeah. Of all people to have a breakdown, it's Megatron. Huh.
It's so good.
You know how bad the Last Light is when he has a breakdown.
Speaking of breakdowns, let's have a quick ad break.
Let's play Guess That Con.
1, 2, 3.
Shot! Oh, that's strong.
Nah, that's nothing. You should have seen me back in the day. I could have drank out the whole bar.
Hey, Heximus. Haven't seen you at the bar for a while.
Hey guys, what are you guys doing?
Oh, Onyx was just saying he could outdrink a whole bar. You want to try a shot of Energon?
Sure. Oh, ugh, why did I even try that? I'm not a robot. Ugh. The battery acid taste in my mouth. Oh, hey, you guys should try this.
What's that?
It's nightmare fuel. Strongest stuff in the afterlife and existence.
I'll see about that. Pour me a glass. God, that's what I thought.
Oh, my Primus, you killed him!
Lightweight.
Calm down, Kilo. He's just unconscious and got knocked off his high turbo horse.
Purchasing nightmare fuel, you agree to the following and will not sue if you have compulsive mad ravings, hallucinations, screaming. If you see someone else in your reflection or in your dreams, please avoid sleeping. Do not consume more than 13 ounces over the course of 6 days.
It's Starscream!
And we are back. Welcome back. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Back in the past again, I want to talk about the council, specifically the Functionalist Council. They call themselves specific names, and we will get there, but they're inside this thing called the COG, and there's 12 members. Thoughts, reactions, theories?
I like their designs a lot.
Yeah, I like their names because they go by 1 of 12, or I am 2 of 12. It's very interesting. It's very sinister almost.
I liked how each of them were designated to specific parts of the governance. Actually trying to pull up a list here. Maybe we'll put it up for like the viewers.
We will, yeah.
Each COG, or I'm sorry, not each COG, but each council member has their own specific roles or responsibilities. Like I think 1 of 12 is one of them has like a job who's literally just the mediator between the 12. I'm like, okay, you're useful.
That's the I still want to have a job here, so this is my title now.
Yeah, exactly. But it's interesting. I do want to see where this goes to.
I like the propaganda that we can see everywhere. It's like everything is fine. You be our eyes. It's kind of like they're brainwashing everybody into I don't know.
Some
I don't want to
foreshadowing.
say. Yeah, it's a foreshadowing because we will learn. Later we'll learn, but it's just brainwashing, and they'll become like non-thinkers, and so they will never go against this console.
Yeah, it's a very scary concept, and I don't want to see this happen anywhere.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not
Yeah,
fun.
Fascism.
Yeah, this fascism, folks, don't do it. All right, so doing a little bit jumping back and forth here, back in the present again. What is the plan to stop Brainstorm? Comptron, do you mind explaining Perceptor's plan on how to stop Brainstorm? It's the 4 parts of Brainstorm's plan to do time travel.
Gosh. So they had this idea that Brainstorm was going back in time to kill Optimus because what they found underneath his mask was a Decepticon symbol. So Brainstorm, I think he found a lot of the leftover suitcases that were left on the ship, and I believe those were the suitcases that were powering Brainstorm's suitcase that he takes with him, if I'm not mistaken.
They found an extra on the second last flight, and that's the plan to use that one to chase Brainstorm. And then he's using additional suitcases as a power source to do
which
the
I
time
believe
travel.
are leeching from the quantum engine.
Yes.
Yes. And so what his idea was is to do a time heist or time chase or a time something. to
Insert time joke here. We don't have the time right now.
to go back in time and get Brainstorm before he can change the current present.
Yeah.
Because and I believe one of the issues that Perceptor was running into is he said it was at this time throughout this specific moment that there was no such thing as two things. There was no such thing as parallel universes, and that theory was proven false, which we'll see later it may or may not be proven false. The second is that in order to go back in the past, Brainstorm had to solve what was called the paradox, time paradox. And how he did it was he created what was called a paradox box. And the whole reason behind this was if something were to happen in the past, the entire current present would be overwritten and completely eliminated, because in this time they didn't believe in parallel universes, so it was just an overwrite. So Brainstorm apparently...
Right,
Yeah.
because if you go back in the past to change something, you change something, so there's no reason for you to go back in the past to change something, therefore null and voiding what you just did. So that's what the time lock thing was for, right?
The paradox lock.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Anyway.
All right.
That was a mouthful.
Kilo? Any thoughts?
A lot of magic, like Rodimus says.
A lot of magic, yes. Or magic. Jumping back 4 million years into the past, who do we find, Kilo?
We find Optimus Prime with his squad of mutants, superpowered robots.
I don't think we can say mutants, but yes.
Yeah, well, yeah. But
for legal reasons, we mean not the X-Men ones.
Yeah, they're just superpowered robots. But Optimus is with Roller, Windcharger, Glitch, Skids, and they're protecting a batch of newborn Sparks, and because the Senate is trying to dispose of them, that way there's no more Transformers being created or actually being born. And so they find the crew that come out of Roller's cargo hold, and they're out of gas of like, where did you all come from?
Yeah, because Rodimus and gang time travel, right?
Magic.
Yeah,
Magic.
Yeah, and the choices they made for the crew, the crew that will time travel, I understand why, but they're questionable. Yes, because they do have to have the same spark. Synchronization like with Brainstorm, because it uses a specific spark pattern, the suitcase for it able to be used, and so they gathered all of the ones that could link with it, and they teleported, but they teleported with Whirl, and I don't know if that's a good idea.
Definitely entertainment, but they also find Trailbreaker in the past, given the recent events.
Trailbreaker, no!
Yeah.
There was a rule that nobody was gonna mess with the past, and then Rodimus is the first one to break it, and he's like, okay, Trailbreaker, if you're at this place, you do this, do not do this, don't leave the ship. Got it? Okay. I won't explain anymore. And I'm like, come on, Rodimus.
Of course he's the first one to break his own rule. Makes so much sense. We talked about this in the fun facts. What are your thoughts on the force field maneuver with Optimus? The one that's replicating the Y-Men. Sorry, the X-Men.
I thought it was cool. I feel like it was Optimus kind of showing off. He's like, okay, just throw me, I could do this, and no problem.
Okay.
But
I'm gonna be honest with you, I thought it was a reference to Lord of the Rings. When they threw Gimli across the gate. You'll have to trust me.
That's good, yeah. So eventually, we do another time jump. This time to pre-war Cybertron. Any highlights you both want to talk about? Like during this time, we get like Ultra Magnus vision again in the current time, and in the past we get some more Dominus and Rewind interaction where Dominus finds his brother who has a flat screen for a head, or I don't know. There's a lot to talk about here, but my favorite is the Ultra Magnus vision again, and it's staring at Megatron, and it's like showing us like threat level uncomprehensible because it's so high.
Just war crimes against the entire
right.
Cybertronian race. It's like, okay. I do want to dive in on Dominus finding his brother Ambus.
Yes. Dive away.
So in this, I guess, parallel universe, Ambus is in lead of a revolt against the Functionist Society, and the Functionist Council managed to kidnap him, and since they realized that his words have a lot of power, they took away his head and slapped the computer on her. And the only way for him to talk is through legit text across the screen.
And all of
Like-
it being monitored on a monitor.
Yeah. You're always watching. I
Kayla, what
found
do you
that
mean they're always watching? Explain a little bit more about that one.
the functionists are using the rewind models as their eyes. No, not it wasn't the rewind models. It was
No.
Dominus Ambus, the new guard. The reason why they brought him in and a bunch of other bots is because they changed his eyes and they're using them to be their eyes out there, and so they're recording everything they see without them knowing, because they were being operated on while they were traveling through light speed or in space while they were sleeping in their slabs.
Yeah, very scary stuff.
It's
Very scary.
Yep. I also found it very creepy with Ambus with his monitor face, because they even changed words. Like if he tried to say something, they would switch it around or write whatever they wanted on the screen, so it wouldn't be it wouldn't be interpreted wrong, or it would give in the correct information. It was like what they wanted you to read. And I'm like,
Right.
oh, that's not good.
No.
Oh boy, the ruling governance ruling what somebody can say and cannot say. Interesting.
Sounds familiar, but we won't
Yeah.
dive into it. So, another time jump with the Lost Light crew. We visit McAdam's old oil house, the same instance one from a few volumes ago. You know, the one where with Nightbeat and Quart doing the investigation outside, and where Kilo thought it was wrong in there, but
It was wrong.
it was wrong. What,
It was
you
wrong.
want to explain that a little bit? You want to explain that?
Yeah, so when they go to the bar, they're keeping an eye out for Brainstorm because they know he's close by, and it's funny because wrong, the wrong of this timeline gets knocked out by Brainstorm. That way, he doesn't appear at the bar, and the bar fight never happens. But then the wrong from the future that teleported to the past is at the bar, so the fight still happens. And that's the wrong we see get thrown on the table. So there was two wrongs, but it's always been
makes
the
sense.
same wrong.
Because a few volumes ago, someone mentioned about him being at the bar, and he said, I don't remember that. It's because it hasn't happened to him yet.
Yes.
It's all making sense now.
But we could say two wrongs make a right.
Two wrongs make a right. Is it right, though? Someone...
You were
someone ends
waiting
up
to
dead.
use that.
I just thought about it, so I had to use it.
Outstanding.
So, like all things that involve this comic, the universe itself is at stake. So much so that during the present time, the timeline has stopped. Everything has stopped. Stars have stopped moving because Perceptor removed the paradox lock, trying to get around it, which then starts altering their timeline, or blending the two timelines together, I should say. And we see this because we can see Ultra Magnus vision again, and he's staring at Megatron, and he does not recognize who Megatron is in his Megatron vision. And we discover the real reason why that is. Because before we say what that is, did anyone have any theories during their first time reading this about what is happening? Why does he not see Megatron? Or know who he is?
The thing is, all the Lost Lighters have been saying that he's out, like Brainstorm is out to kill Optimus Prime. And then every time we are shown a character, usually either like Megatron's there. We did get Optimus a little bit at the beginning, but other than that, it's been points where Megatron is. At this point, I was like, it has to be Megatron. It can't be Optimus, because Optimus is not at this bar. It's just, and Megatron is, so it didn't add up. And then when he's like, I don't recognize him, I'm like, he deleted Megatron. He just erased Megatron from the timeline.
What was that? I thought it was, so I was getting confused for a second because I believe Preceptor pointed out throughout the entire comic that Brainstorm wasn't landing perfectly in the places that he wanted. So at that moment, I was thinking, oh, he's just going to wait out until Optimus shows up to meet Megatron here, or, like that. because I originally had thought that this is just Preceptor or not Preceptor, Brainstorm fumbling with when and where he wants to go.
Right. I want to point out my favorite part of the scene is when trying to calm everyone down. Ultra Magnus shares how he got a Rod Star, and it's for Nita's handwriting. And then asks if Megatron had one, and he says, "Sign, yes, for abandoning my evil ways." It's so good.
The comedy
Oh,
in these comics is so good.
it's accurate. It's good stuff. So we finally arrive to the scene where Brainstorm runs into past Megatron. What are our thoughts on this final conflict here?
He was constructed cold.
That not only that, but I believe the original Megatron didn't have a 0.1% spark.
He did not.
Well, he may have.
Well, the before
Yeah.
the whole but
Yeah.
I do like seeing him being constructed. I'm like, Tailgate was correct. He was like 50-50 that he saved Megatron when the whole Tyrista happened. I'm like, he did save Megatron. That's funny.
Well, that and I did enjoy looking, I guess, behind on the slabs. Were I think the other drilling bots, I suppose
Miners?
you call them.
Miners,
Yeah.
yeah.
And looking and seeing all the ones that kind of match his color. I do want to point out what was the most interesting for me on that scene was the name of the place. It was called
Facility 113.
Yeah.
Yes. And they said Con was short for constructed cold. And I'm like, oh, interesting. Very interesting.
Interesting.
Because they include the word con in what?
Yeah, I understood that reference.
This is something I actually just realized just not reading it through again. So, the interesting things you find.
Yeah.
Kayla, do you mind giving us a short description on what occurs in this facility?
Yeah. Brainstorm is standing in front of Megatron with a pistol of some kind, and the crew appears and throw I'm assuming it's a Rodimus-made grenade because it's red and yellow. But it does explode, and it takes Brainstorm not down, but he's kind of like wasn't able to shoot at Megatron. And throughout the whole battle, or like the confrontation, Rodimus is telling him like, "Don't do it, put the gun down." And Rung steps up and says like, "Yeah, do it now." And Rung figured out through some video information that they were looking at that Brainstorm was standing there. I don't know how long it was. I don't know if it was like 15 minutes or 15 seconds before they showed up, but it was a long while. And he could have, shot Megatron, and he didn't. So he knew that Brainstorm was having a conflict between himself if he wanted to do it or not. And Brainstorm said that he's never killed anyone like himself. It's usually been either his gadgets through some other means, either somebody else building it, killed bots and stuff like that, but he's never really done it. And then he explains that the way he was teleporting or using the time travel was he took... he put like a chip inside of one of Rung's spaceships so he could get Megatron's signature, but he took out the wrong chip and it was Rung's signature, so he's been teleporting to where Rung has been all this time. And so that's why like Rung was at the bar, Rung was at the mining facility where Megatron was riding, and it all adds up at the end. And in the end, Rewind, his memories being altered by all these changes, sees that the future will become a functionist future, and he decides to shoot Megatron, killing him on the spot.
It's interesting because there's like a double red herring. Oh, you thought he was going for Optimus? No. Oh, you thought he was actually going after Megatron? No. He was going after Rung.
Yep, and all this, and I don't know if we were going to cover this a little bit more, but Brainstorm has been doing this because he wanted to save a friend, somebody that he cared a lot. He wanted to protect.
Endura.
It was his conscience.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Well, yes and no, I guess.
Yes,
That's how to
like
explain
he
it.
really cared for Kronk, but Kronk didn't really reciprocate that well because I don't think he ever told him.
No,
So-
no. I think I mentioned this before. Brainstorm has a type. He likes microscopes.
Oh my gosh!
that makes so much sense.
Because, Perceptor in the future and Quark in the past, they're both turned into microscopes. I don't think we've seen Quark as a microscope, but spoilers, that's what he turns
does
into.
mention it.
He mentions it, yeah, for sure.
So eventually, the conflict is settled. Worrell saves Megatron by taking the spare 1 percenter spark Brainstorm was holding to use to power the suitcase and shoves it into
1%.
Megatron. Yeah. Which then is the creation of Megatron, the first hybrid cold construction forged bot.
With a 1% spark.
Which makes sense why he's powerful. Yeah.
Yep.
It's interesting because you've noticed, like, even before we watched, like, all those times where you would surely Megatron should be dead, or there's no way Megatron could survive the Junkin for,
Yeah.
And now that you read it, it's like, well, he's constructed cold, and he's got that adaptability to kind of do as he darn well
and we
pleases.
don't know as a 0.1 percenter what his like superpower is. Is it like just incredible strength? Is he just cannot die or something?
Immortal.
Or will,
Immortal,
or his will, or something.
He's
Sure
strong.
will.
He's definitely got sure will.
Yeah.
So, moving on from this traumatic event of some kind, Tailgate gets this brilliant idea. Since they have the powers to communicate via time travel, they decide to leave a voice message. And it's the same voice message that we see all the way in Robots in Disguise Volume 1 before takeoff, well, after takeoff, in Prowl's office. What were your thoughts on that we finally have that big payoff, what that was?
It all makes sense now. It comes full circle.
It's interesting because they were concerned that it would change the entire universe because, once again, they're breaking the rules. But from Robots in Disguise Volume 1, you realize that fell on deaf ears. So
Yes.
Nobody got it.
Yeah. Speaking of full circle, what was our feelings about the Spark Eater callback on its origins?
Ooh, yeah, the Spark Eater gun.
Yeah.
I liked it.
It was really good.
I thought it was funny. I'm like,
Right.
so they also made the Spark Eater. So they're inside the Lost Light before they got the hands of the Lost Light. So this is all their fault.
Yeah.
It was actually, this is again something I caught second time reading through. Like, I didn't realize this is the origin of Spark Eater.
Right. There's a lot of things you can catch second or even third time reading through. And I like at the end, as you should do with a time traveling story, is on the Lost Light, Tailgate and a few others are watching the Earth movie Back to the Future. Wonder if they'll ever do a crossover, but
I
someday.
think they will. I've been to the future. I think they will.
Yeah, you would hope. So Rodstar rating, unless there's anything else we want to talk about.
There's a special ending at the end, right? Where it's all hail the useless one.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
you want to talk about that?
You finally meet the useless one.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what Rung did, but the functioners have captured Rung and are torturing him. And there's seems to be like a cult because they say like, "Oh, hail the useless one." So
Yeah, and this is in the alternative timeline at this point, right?
yeah, the functioners universe. Yeah, where they've taken control.
Do you think we'll visit this universe again, or do you think that's just like a cool little cliff note there on to keep you interested in Rung?
I think we will. Could it be the one where Pharma got taken to? Dun, dun, dun.
We'll
Who
have
knows?
to find out.
You know, we'll have to find out. We did
I do
see where
also.
that turned out to be. It was somewhere with something with 5 Cybertrons, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
So
I do want to point out that there was a scene where Quark said that he discovered Rung's use with his helper Sweep, which is like a broom, a guy that just brooms. And so the deepest thought of my mind was, wait, did Brainstorm start off as Sweep?
who knows?
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun.
All right,
We'll
moving to
have to find out.
Rodstars. I'm gonna give this a 4.5. It was a good, fun time. I do like time travel stories. It's gonna be. It's not. It's not gonna. It's gonna. Yeah. Let me start over. It has been entertaining. I enjoy lots of payoffs that were being set up throughout the entire series, and more even. Good one. 4.5. Who's next?
Well, I'm actually going to give this a 5, and there's a reason why. Throughout this entire series, there's a few things I really enjoyed. The first being the character development. Whirl, of all people, was one that saved Megatron. Rewind, of all people, was one that killed Megatron. And you also get a little background story about it kind of comes full circle, which is satisfying for me. Like how Megatron went to jail, what Rewind's affiliation with ever going back to the past was, and also seeing Megatron's birth.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Time Heist.
Time Heist. I will also give it a 5. I really enjoyed it. I had a blast. I really liked all the character arcs, everything coming back, all the little things we've already seen before, and they're kind of like giving us more details of what really is happening there. I really enjoyed that. And seeing Megatron's birth was very interesting. I don't think we've seen it ever in any other media, so that's very good.
Yeah.
And I really like the little bit of history we got for Whirl and how he lost his hands and face and all that, and why he hates the Functionist so much. So
Yep.
I thought
Good
that
reason.
was pretty cool.
Yeah. Good reason.
Good reading. I thought you said good riddance, and I'm like, whoa,
Oh,
okay.
no. He did not deserve what he had coming.
Yeah.
Sorry, did I say that?
No,
Anyway.
it just sounded like that. Wait, what?
Anyway, listeners, what do you think of these comics? How many Rod Stars would you give it? And let us know by leaving a comment below. All right, so we have no new emails today. Well, at least I haven't checked today. So anyway, I should probably check that. Anyway, if you would like to email us, you can contact us at swervesbarpodcast@gmail.com. And the details should be below if you need assistance with that email address. So, moving on to our next segment, do we have any new toys we want to talk about?
I do not have any new toys, but I do have a little project that I would like to talk about.
Yeah,
And
take
it's
the floor.
Yeah, so I've managed to get a connection from Cybertron to a platform called Twitch.tv back on Earth, and I started streaming. You can find me at twitch.tv/kilobyte prime, and I hope to see you all there. Right now I've been playing the Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, the new Lego Star Wars game, and I'm enjoying it quite a lot. So hopefully we'll play some more Transformers game, and I think the next one on the list is Battlegrounds, so you can catch me there at 8 p.m. Pacific time.
Yeah, it was the only time slot we could VPN into on the Earth.
Yeah, the connection between Cybertron and Earth takes a while to show the image, so it is later time.
We'll put a link to your Twitch in the details below.
Yes.
Are you all ready for Transformers Robots in Disguise Volume 7?
I'm ready.
I'm ready. I'm not looking forward to that already. I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness.
I'm ready.
I think Computron needs another drink. Kilo, do you mind taking us out?
It's
Will
diluted.
do.
It's diluted.
That must be the case.
It will do. If you enjoyed this episode, consider sharing it with your friends and subscribing. If you want to help out the show even further, we have started a Patreon. The details will be below on the description. So please check that out. All the proceeds will go to supporting the show and keeping the lights on. Of course, we do have tiers that offer other forms of gratitude, such as 3D printed files and access to our Discord channel. And as always, we hope you're all staying safe out there. Thank you so much for listening. Till all are one.
Till all are one.
Well, all are one.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Swerves Bar Podcast. You can also find us on Twitter at Swerves Bar. If you are interested in more content, Try checking out the spin-off D&D Transform and Rollout Rise of the World Killers. Let's tune in for a preview now.
I deserve the MVP of the night.
The MVP? I shot myself to get in there.
Is that what your MVP wants to be? It's like the little Overwatch thing where it says play of the game.
Yeah, the
And it
game.
shows you shooting the game.
Player of the game. And it's Bastion.
It's always Bastion.
Exhilarating. There is also a YouTube channel with bonus content. Link will be provided below. End transmission.